spilling all over my face. All right. So today is day number 2. It is back in biceps today. This is week 3, or the third phase of our 16-week program here. We're doing resistance bands in combination with dumbbells. So before we jump into it, we want to make sure that we go ahead and warm up and stretch. Yesterday was chest and triceps. I'm feeling it today, nice and tight. So we want to make sure that we first warm this up, stretch it out. Otherwise, it's like a tug of war at the shoulder, right? Everything here is tight, pulling forward, and now we're about to do back. So we want to eliminate that. We want to make sure that we're getting the shoulder nice and loose here. So just a very, very light stretch. You want to make sure that do some sort of light activity just to get the muscles warm. You don't really want to stretch when you're cold. But just a nice light stretch here on the chest. All right, we're going to come into some arm circles. All our upper body stuff. Chest day, back day, arms, it doesn't matter. We always warm up the shoulders. They are at the center of everything. So I want to take that little bit of time, just a few minutes, spend it on conditioning them, strengthening all those small muscles in the shoulder, our rotator cuff. Let's go backwards. Oh, yeah. Really open up that chest too. Loosen it up. We're actually going to do a little, you can do this against a wall, whatever you want. You can do it right here. We're just going to do just a really light press, just to warm up everything so we can stretch it out a little bit more. There's 8. I'm going to do 4 more of these. All right, now let's stretch it out again. We're going to move into some internal rotation, external rotation. Condition those muscles, like I said, in the rotator cuff. So grabbing a gym towel, you can grab some bands, whatever you want to grab here, palms facing in, shoulder width apart, tuck those elbows, and you're going to create resistance with the opposite arm. So one side's pulling, one side's resisting. And now we're working both external and internal rotation. If you've been following this, you're starting to see this is one of my staples right here. This has made a difference for me personally. It's easy just to want to skip past all this and jump right into our workouts, but it's a big mistake. Even if you're younger, it's a mistake, but as you start to age, it becomes even more important. Let's do a few more. Nice. All right, just leaning forward. Bring those elbows up to shoulder height, 90 degrees here. A lot of times we'll do this with resistance bands. We're just going to use gravity here and rotate backwards and come forward. Three, 4, 5, 6. Do 6 more. 7, 8. 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to grab an extra light band. Might as well grab them all. I'm going to be using some of these today with our workout. So grab the smallest one. And we're going to do a pull apart. You'd also call it a rear fly if you wanted to. We're going to warm up the rear delts, the rhomboids, everything there, back of the shoulder and upper back. So you can see the band's going about the middle of my face. So hands are a little bit higher. Later in the workout, we're going to be doing a reverse fly with these bands, pulling a little bit lower, using more of the muscles in the mid back as opposed to just focusing on rear delts here. Think about pulling out to the sides as opposed to pulling back with these. And that's going to help you zero in on those rear delts more. Our technique at the end of this workout for those rear flies is going to be a little different. Nice. Okay. Should be good for a warm-up. Should be feeling a little loose. So we're going to jump into our first exercise. I think we've got some bent over rows. So we're going to be doing a combination. It says dumbbell rows on the PDF. So if you've downloaded the PDF, which if you haven't already, the link is in the description for this video. Free PDF, download it so you can follow along. But you'll notice it says dumbbells only, but we're actually going to do dumbbells with the bands. So with that being said, let's see. I'm going to find that right combination of resistance here. Sometimes it's a little bit of trial and error, especially when you start mixing and matching bands with dumbbells. You obviously have two different ways to adjust the resistance, either the dumbbell or the band. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to step on the band, both feet about shoulder width apart. I'm going to take that band. Now it's actually going to do this the wrong way, and let me show you the right way, which is either taking a towel. I've got some little neoprene pads that my dogs like to steal and chew on. They're just little squares of neoprene. I bought these on Amazon. You can use a small little hand towel, whatever you want. But if we attach the band to the dumbbell like I'm about to do, all these dumbbells have knurling on them, which is very sharp. And so that's going to cause an abrasion on the band, and it's going to weaken the band. So typically I recommend that you put something in between like that. It's just going to make your bands last a whole lot longer. So let me get back in position here. Okay. So feet a little wider than shoulder width. Want to keep our back nice and straight, almost a slight arch. We're going to do that by pushing our chest out, keeping our chin up. Find a spot on the wall. And we're going to pull. This is halfway in between our chest and our waist. So we could come low if we wanted to. You can flare the elbows more and come higher. But I'm going to keep about a neutral position. See, it's about 45-degree angle with the dumbbells there, right? They're not here. They're not here. Neutral hand position. Pull right to the bottom of my ribs. Control those reps. Nice controlled concentric squeeze and a controlled eccentric or negative. That's 4. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 2 more. 11, 12. Nice. Now, if you followed any of the other workouts past couple weeks, you probably heard me say that I've got some low back issues. So, a couple herniated discs down low that have been bothering me lately. Now, just because you have herniations doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be in pain. And sometimes you can be in pain without any kind of herniation. So most of the time it's manageable for me, but the last couple weeks have been bad. Definitely a very slow process in the morning to start loosening up. So I'm going to use a belt here just for a little extra support. People ask my opinion on belts. Kind of case by case, really. I'd say the biggest general rule, don't abuse it. Don't use it for everything. I see people walking around the gym doing it with every set, every exercise, every body part. That's unnecessary. But any of these movements like this, where we're bent over, no matter how good my posture is, it still flares up and bothers me. So that's why I'm using it right now, just as a safety measure. Obviously, this isn't a ton of weight, but maybe you can relate. When your back's fucked up, it doesn't matter. It hurts tying your shoe. And I would say that these are old people problems, but the reality is they're not. I hurt my back when I was in my 20s. So it can happen to anybody. And if you are young, you want to make sure you can do whatever possible to prevent future injuries. Like, why be miserable if you don't have to? Okay, same thing. You notice I kind of put it in between my middle finger and my ring finger. All right, here we go. 1, 2. Think about driving those elbows back. Don't focus on your hands. Hands are just going along for the ride. There's 6, 7, 8, 9, 3 more, 10, 11, I'm going to stretch out my low back here a little. Make sure you stretch out those hamstrings too. Hamstrings and glutes. A lot of times, tight hamstrings and glutes can be a culprit for tightness in the low back. And mine are definitely tight right now. So I was talking about those hands going along for the ride. Imagine if this was a train. The elbow's the engine. Your hands are like the caboose. They're just following along. Some people describe it as a hook, right? From the elbow to the hands are just hooks. So they're just holding on, but we're thinking about driving those elbows back as opposed to thinking about pulling the hands up. Like a little stretch here in the lats. Definitely take the time between sets to stretch. All right, let's do our third set. Now, if you've had any kind of injury or you're going through it right now, it's obviously frustrating. It can be demoralizing. It makes it hard to want to go in there and train. The best advice I can give you is just do what you can. Don't get frustrated. Just go in. Modify exercises if you have to. Find different ways to boost the intensity. You can see I'm not using a bunch of weight here. You know, for rows, I used to use 120-pound dumbbells, but if we come in here, we use the bands in combination and we control our rep speed, we can create intensity in different ways. Because for me to pick up 120-pound dumbbells right now would be foolish. And it'd be more counterproductive than anything. What's the point of having a good workout if it fucks up the next 7 workouts? One more. 1, 2, nice. So this driving with the elbows, this concept, we're going to do a lot with all our back exercises. It's probably the single biggest mistake I made early in my training was just using too much arms, especially with pull downs. If you feel that your arms, your biceps are starting to fatigue faster than your back, well, then that's a problem. Now, I'll hear some people say, well, yeah, but it's compound movement. You're supposed to be, using more than one muscle group. Yeah, but we're on back day. We're trying to train back, and it's a much bigger, stronger muscle than your biceps. So you have to be a little more focused with your technique. And as far as using wraps, hand wraps, obviously there's all sorts of different opinions. I kind of have the same philosophy that I do with the belt. Don't overuse them, but there's a time and a place. So a perfect example, lat pull downs. If you feel that your grip is giving out before you feel that good strong burn in the back, in your lats, wrap your hands. Use the wrist straps. Especially, it helps you relax your grip, take your focus off your hands, and put more focus on driving those elbows down. So speaking of pull downs, it's exactly what we're going to do here. So we did these last week in our band only training. Training at home and don't have access to a cable machine for pull downs, and this is an awesome option. And even if you do have access to a cable machine, sometimes I actually prefer these. I feel a better squeeze in the lats. So we're going to now, 2 ways you can do this. Actually, there's a couple different ways. We can use a heavier band like this. You can loop it over and through itself. It does put wear and tear on the band. I have part of Undersun, an attachment, puts less stress on this we talked about last week. But we're actually going to do something a little bit different here. We're going to use a lighter band. We're going to grab it by the loops here. So slight variation compared to what we did last week. So right now it's a little too relaxed here at the beginning of the range of motion, so I don't have enough resistance here. So I'm just going to come up higher. The more you stretch a band, the more resistance you create. So now I've got good tension here at the beginning of the range of movement. I'm going to drive my elbows out toward the sides and then down. The closest thing I can think of is think about making a snow angel. Drive those elbows all the way down. Keep going, keep going, keep going right there. Squeeze. That's 5. 6. 7. Make sure chest out, chin up. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. Now here's one thing that I learned the hard way. If you see someone who's got maybe a really wide back or a thick back, it doesn't always mean that their training is ideal. Some people just develop certain muscle parts easier. And so I used to follow other guys in the gym who had big backs, and I tried to do everything that they did, but I just never felt it the same way. So I had to learn how to get that better squeeze, that better mind-muscle connection, because like I said, for me, I was always trying to overpower any of my pulling movements with arms. So be cautious when taking someone else's advice, even mine. I think it's important to find your own way, what works for you, where you actually feel that. And there's no substitute for just good old-fashioned experience, trying different things and seeing what you like better. So I'm going to go up in resistance, but I'm going to stretch in between here. Said this the other week when I'm doing these, I'm not keeping everything square. I go ahead and I drop that hip, that butt back on that same side, just to stretch everything out there. Same thing here. See, it's almost like sitting into it. Feel that from here all the way down. Now, if you want to make these extra hard, I wouldn't even need to grab higher if I move this bench out and drop it all the way down here. Now I've got good tension here at the very top. Switch. I'm going to show you one more little trick here. If you don't like this feeling in your hands here, if it hurts your hands, or if you just want to take the focus off your grip and put it more on driving those elbows, you stick our wrist in there. It's almost like using wrist straps. Now I just grab the band. There's 4. 5. 7. 8. I'm actually rushing those eccentrics. I need to slow down. 9. There we go. That's our rep count. Nice. Makes it a whole lot harder. Nice. You're always going to have to remind yourself on that one. It's just easy to slip into doing those reps really fast, banging them out. So we just have to remind ourselves all the time, control. It's not necessarily always about doing it slow. Even if we do faster rep counts, you still want to use control. And what I mean by that is not relying on momentum, not using all sorts of body English with your movements. We don't want to swing. You want to control the resistance. You don't want it controlling you. All right, we got one more of these. Like all of our workouts, 90-second rest periods ideally. Try not to keep them too much longer than that. We want to keep our intensity up. Here we go. So don't think about driving straight down like this. It's not this. Drive those elbows out wide and then bring them back down to the sides. That's halfway. There's 7. 8. 4 more. Let's make them count. That's 1. 2. 2 more. Oh yeah. 3. 1 more. That's it. Squeeze it out. Ah, nice. That was perfect. So a common question is, do I take every exercise to failure? Well, there's absolute failure, right? That's just physically not being able to do a rep no matter what, even if you're using cheat reps, etc. So what I like to do is take it to a controlled failure, meaning with nice disciplined controlled form, controlling those rep speeds, take it until I can't do another rep. All right. Stretch out real quick, grab some water. All right. Our first biceps exercise. So it just says dumbbell curls, but we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do dumbbells in combination with bands. Especially for me, I've been nursing a biceps tendon issue where it originates up here in the labrum. So it feels like shoulder pain. when in fact, really, it's that long head of the biceps. So that's been killing me I was going back, it seems like about a year now, but the last 3 months been especially bad. So I am going to be very cautious here. And this is where the bands come in. So for the longest time, really couldn't do much in the way of dumbbell curls, but I could do band curls. So now I'm going to step up a little bit here, keep it light. Let's see how these small dumbbells feel. Let me grab those neoprene pads. So 2 ways you can do it. We can step on both sides like this, or you can even just step on one side. Obviously less resistance this way. All we're gonna do, squeeze up, get that little turn there, right? Call it supination, turning that pinky up. Helps get a little bit better squeeze, but then we come back down to a neutral position at the bottom. So turn it on the way up, back to neutral. Same rep count, same rep tempo. I think it's either 3 or 4. We're just going to say 3. 4. 5. 6. We're halfway there. 7. 8. If you want to speed them up, could do both at the same time and look like this. That's 9. 10. 11. 12. Nice. So probably could have gone up a little bit in resistance, but I'd rather be patient right now. We've got time here. We can keep pushing it each week. You don't have to kill yourself every single workout, especially if you're dealing with an injury like I am. You have to learn to use your better judgment. Trust me, I want to kill every single workout. It's just my nature. I'm kind of like black and white, you know, I'm either all in or I'm all out. But with your training, you can't have that attitude. You can't have an all or nothing approach, because that's great when when you're all in, but then what's the other side? All out, right? You're just like, all right, I got an injury, I can't train the way I want to, so fuck it. No, you just gotta make some adjustments and go in there and do what you can do. It's kind of the same thing with nutrition plans. I see that a lot. I'm susceptible to it as well. You get really in a good groove, you're doing everything right, you feel good about it, and then you slip. And we all slip. So what are you going to do when you slip? Are you going to get frustrated and just say, fuck it, and just stop? Well, that's what a lot of people end up doing. Or do you just say, screw it, happens, I slipped up, move on. As they say in sports, learn to fail fast. It's like, get over it, move on. Here we go. It's 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 4 more. 1. 2. That's where I got to dig in. 3. One more good one. 'Nice. Let's stretch out these biceps a little. Grab some water. So we only have one more set of these, and we're going to move to our last exercise. Now keep in mind as we progress, we're doing it by adding in different intensity boosting techniques, adding in some volume, some extra exercises. So when people ask me what's the difference between a beginner program and an advanced program, it's less about the exercises, it's less about the exercise split. People say, is it a PPL? Is it a total body workout? Is it a bro split? What's best for a beginner? It doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. Not that I've ever found. I think the differences really come down to personal preference. What split maybe suits your schedule better, your preferences. But the difference between beginner versus advanced really comes down to intensity, in my opinion. It's not even about exercise selection. I do think some exercises are more advanced. They require a little bit more technique. But the big difference is going to be that, just intensity. So what's the best way to start as a beginner? It's just to fucking start. So that's what we're doing here. That's why we did body weight week 1, just to ease ourselves into it. Moved into bands last week. Now we're progressing into bands and weights. And then we're going to start moving into more advanced weight training techniques. All right. Last set of these. 5, 6, 7. Oh yeah. Let's go. 8. 4 more. 1. 2. 2 more. 1 more. Ah, nice. Now remember, we're not just working the muscle with the resistance from the dumbbell or the band. And it's not just increasing intensity with controlled rep speeds. It's also that mind-muscle connection of consciously contracting the muscle as you do it. Like, do this versus really squeeze it. Make every single rep count. Try to get the strongest contraction you can, and don't just rely on the resistance to create the contraction. Like I said, use your mind as well. And that's going to make every single rep that much harder. And then you don't need as much resistance. This is a very sappy song. This would be cool for a road trip, but... All right. Put these dumbbells away. So we're going to do a rear fly with the bands. You could call this a pull apart. Now, 2 different ways you could do a rear fly, depending on what you want to focus on. Let's pretend we're doing dumbbells for a second. So we would do these bent over, maybe even resting on a bench. If we wanted to focus more on the rear delts, we would keep those arms a little bit straighter, and we would think about going out to the sides, out in this direction, stabilizing our shoulder blade or our scapula. We don't want a lot of movement. This is a lot of movement at the shoulder. You see that, how my shoulder blade's pinching? We don't want that. We want to try to stabilize it and think about coming out to the side, and we don't have to go super high. We want to stop right about there. Anything more, we start to get that movement at the scapula. So that's how we would target rear delts. But we're working on back here, so we want to do the opposite. Instead of coming high, we're going to come a little bit lower here, almost think about the bottom of your chest, and we want to think about driving those elbows backwards and getting a good squeeze there in between our shoulder blades. So it's the difference between this versus this. Let me grab a band. We're especially going to get a lot of the middle trapezius when we do this, because the traps don't just lift our shoulders, they pull our shoulder blades back. All right, so pretty much shoulder width apart. We don't have to bend over to do these like you would dumbbell, where you're relying on gravity. Bands, we don't need any gravity, so we can stand upright with these. We're going to get just a slight bend in the elbow and keep it. You can see that position right there. And now think about driving those elbows back, squeezing the shoulder blades together. You see, this is lower where the band is coming across my chest. 3 more. 10, drive those elbows back. Oh man, nice. So a long time ago, someone told me, think about if you had maybe even a tennis ball between your shoulder blades, that you're trying to crush that tennis ball, you're trying to squeeze it. So a long time ago when I used to train people, I used to put my hand right between their shoulder blades and I'd say, I want you to try to squeeze my hand. So that's what I want you to visualize is someone's hand back there, you're trying to squeeze it between your shoulder blades. Stretch out a little bit. Now, this is a magic trick. There we go. Grab some water real quick if you want. We only have 2 more sets. I'm going to do our cool down. Okay. Here we go. So first thing, little bend. So you're not just purely pulling back, because then this would be a row, right? So you are pulling apart. So think about this motion when we bend forward so you can see what it looks like a little better here, right? So it's not here. It's not here. This would be more rear delts. It's here. So think about this arc. I'll even lean forward so you can see it. Keep that back nice and straight. Stand up now. I'll turn sideways so you can see. That's 9. 10. 11. One more. Oh, man. Nice thing about bands, when you get tired, you can't really cheat. You can't use momentum. When we're using dumbbells, we have a tendency to do that. As we start to fatigue, we start to try to, swing them, use momentum. So it's another reason why for last week, phase 2, and this week, phase 3, I want you to use bands. It's not just about learning how to use bands, which is cool, right? Now you know another training tool. You can use these when you travel, etc. I feel like everybody should have this tool in their arsenal. Why not? Even if you have a gym membership, spending $80 on a set of bands that you can take with you and enhance any workout, it only makes sense. But separate from all that, the reason I want you to do it is so you learn better control. And we want to take that same kind of control and bring that into your weight training. All right, we got one more set. So I've got 3 months until my 50th birthday. So I'm trying to push myself here. Been doing my cardio on our rest days, even a couple days a week, hitting maybe like an extra 30 minutes, whether it's going and taking a walk or doing an elliptical, whatever it is. And then of course, staying on top of my nutrition. Here we go. I don't want to be in good shape for 50. I want to feel like I'm in my best shape. I want to judge it on a sliding scale. It's not like someone saying, oh, you look great for 50. I'm like, I don't want to look great for 50. I just want to look great. Here we go. That's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. One more time. Oh. Whew. That's 3. Stretch out a little. I gotta say, for everyone who's joining, just want to say, appreciate you. Happy to have you join these workouts. This is actually making me enjoy sharing content again. I was getting really burned out. If you saw one of the workouts last week, kind of went on a little rant just because I get so frustrated with the fitness industry. I don't really like what it's become. And it makes it difficult for me to want to be a part of that. So that was part of my motivation for doing these, was totally different motivation, which is just getting back to the basics, the purity of it, training, having fun, sharing the information, not worrying about all YouTube's rules and regulations and best practices. Like, I got tired of that. Tired of trying to curate content for people's short attention span. You know, if you don't want to watch these, you don't want to watch an hour workout, that's cool. It's just not the content for you. But like I've said before, if you want to put your earphones in, you want to follow along, catch a workout with me, then that's cool. Happy to have you join, man. All right, so that's it for our main workout. We do want to do a really light cool down, so we're going to go back to our good old-fashioned arm circles here going forward. My goal for all of us over the coming months is to feel like we've really strengthened and conditioned our joints, improved our mobility. We feel good in combination with getting stronger and building muscle. So it's not just about looking good, it's about feeling good and doing this shit for a long time. Let's do a couple more. Reverse it. Now, yesterday's workout, we were supposed to actually do a couple sets of these. They were built into the workout. They're not built into the workout today. Yesterday's supposed to be 3 sets. We only did 1, but that's all right. We did some extra push-ups there as a finisher. So we don't have any arm circles on our PDF. If you do want to get like maybe a burnout set, sometimes I like to do that. Do a body weight movement. So yesterday for chest and triceps, I did push-ups. If you want to come over to a pull-up bar, bust out, a couple pull-ups, or even you could do some active hangs. Just come in here, make sure I don't smack my head on that other bar. come in here, we come up into a pull-up position and we just hold it. Drive those elbows down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we're gonna do a 5-second on the way down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you don't feel strong enough to do those, do what you can do. Do a couple regular pull-ups. Do some partials, even if you're just coming in here, right? Focus on driving those elbows down, some partial reps. Some people say partial reps don't work. It's a bunch of bullshit. You don't want to do all your exercises with just partial reps, but partial reps are still working that muscle. So, get in there and do what you can do. If you really want to, like I said, challenge yourself, there's always those little extra things you can do at the end of the workout just to really kind of put the icing on the cake. So, last thing that I'm going to do here at the end of my workout, especially since we just did back, and because my back's bothering me, doing some low back conditioning stuff. So I'll come over here and I'll do some isometric holds. Before you let go here, make sure you go ahead and engage all those muscles here, right? Stabilize. And I'm just gonna hold these for 10 seconds, squeezing all these muscles here. Low back, glutes, hamstrings, and then slowly come down. You can even come to the bottom here. Get a nice stretch in the glutes and the hamstrings. Catch your breath. And come back up slowly. And then hold. All right, we're gonna do one more. There we go. Nice. So we worked all the muscles in our upper back. We worked our lats, middle back. So that's really focusing on those spinal erectors here, which what those muscles do is extend the spine, right? So if I round forward, that's flexion. This is extension. So it's not at the hip, it's in the spine. So there's two different ways to do these. We can move more at the hip, keeping our back flat. So now this is more hip. So that's going to be glutes and hamstrings. Or we can come forward and then extend at the spine. And that's all those spinal erectors. Or you can do a combination of both. So two different ways to do it. You hear people say, don't do this, only do this. Well, it depends on what your goal is. So last thing I'm gonna do here, you can throw a mat down if you want, I'm not going to. Come down to this position. We're gonna go, well, I was gonna do it with a band. I think we're just gonna do a variation of a Superman instead. So arms in front of you. So opposite foot, opposite hand lift, hold, down, and opposite side. This one's a little easier on my back than regular Superman's, which would be both hands up at the same time and both feet up at the same time. That has a tendency to compress the vertebrae in my low back, where I already have issues. Just do a couple more. And then just kind of walk those hands out in front of you. So I've tried just about everything you can think of for my back. You name it. Acupuncture, chiropractors, TENS units, inversion tables, red light therapy, you name it. And I found that the best thing, the one thing that's helped me the most is simply working on conditioning, strengthening those muscles, taking the time to do some of these exercises, do some of the stretches. And for me, that's the one thing that kind of holds it at bay. So it's worth taking the extra time. But that's it for today. So Tuesday, back and biceps done. Tomorrow is Wednesday, so it's our active rest day. Get your ass out there, move 30 minutes at least. Go walk, go do the elliptical, ride your bike, whatever it is. Go out there, get active, burn some calories, get your heart and your lungs going. And I will see you Thursday where we come back in here and we're going to attack legs with bands and weights.